For joining us this evening. It's our honor and our pleasure to be here at T-Works. And without much ado, let me just quickly introduce you to our guests. Let me first introduce Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, who actually needs no introduction, one of the best known technocrats, one of the most distinguished officers of the Indian government. Thank you so much, sir. He's a special chief secretary right now in Telangana and CEO of Speed. I will definitely ask you a little more about the felt need for speed and what that's going to do to the state of Telangana. And we also have our Chief Technology Officer from Uber, Shri.Praveen Naga. He's here with us. He's traveling. He's in India this week, visiting various cities. It's his day 2. He's in Hyderabad today, visiting our tech center and eager to interact with all of you. May I please request you both to join us? And before we kick it off, may I please request Commander Anil Kumar, he's the Senior Vice President T-Works, to felicitate our two guests. As we get started, I think the theme around which we have gathered everybody here was around Telangana's AI leap. AI, of course, the buzzword, but there's so much work that's happening around the world. There's a lot of AI work that happens at Uber, which a lot of startups are curious to know about. But also at the same time, how Telangana has created this template for a lot of companies to see how to work with state governments. This innovative ecosystem that you have built, sir, and you have led it for the last decade or more. You are in a new role right now, and I think our audience here would definitely love to know, first up, a little bit about the framework you have in mind, the thinking that you have, what guides your principles when you think about creating this innovation ecosystem and the role that the government plays in building that ecosystem.
So, greetings to both of you and greetings to everyone in the audience. First of all, I would like to thank Uber for putting together this format of interaction. I'll get to know a lot about you and the kind of work that you do. You'll also hopefully get to know about how this government is very different from many other governments in India and elsewhere, and how progressive we are regarding technology adoption. So, to the question that you asked, see, this is not the popular narrative. About 12 years ago, in 2014, when Telangana became a new state, and we took a very conscious decision that the state will encourage startups, because startups are the ones who are today providing lots of tech solutions, tech products, some of the most path-breaking solutions that directly address some of the most pressing points of the community, of the people. They are coming from young entrepreneurs, young innovators. So we felt that we should also as a government encourage startups. And in 2014, Hyderabad was not a very buzzing startup destination. All these things were not there. They have come subsequently. There was far more activity happening in other Indian cities, about half a dozen or 8-10 other Indian cities. We had, in 2014, I distinctly recall, we had just about 40-50 startups and 2 incubators, one in ISB, one in IIIT, and of course, I won't call it technically an incubator, but a lab kind of a facility where young innovators can do some work related to life sciences and biotech. That was in Genome Valley. So that is a 2.5 innovation spaces and 40-50 startups. So as a government, when we decided that this is one area where we would really step in, we will intervene, many people told us that this is not how it is done. They gave examples of the Silicon Valley and all the other startup hubs, let us say like Boston or Oxford, Cambridge, Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Dubai, Singapore, Hong Kong, even Bangalore in India, where they told very clearly the government has really stayed away from all this. All this has grown organically and market. This is a very talent-based kind of an ecosystem, and therefore let the market decide. If someone is talented, he will rise. If someone lacks that talent, he will find something else to do. But in Telangana, we chose that this is not the right way. If I keep waiting for the market to evolve and startups to get up, we will have to wait for another 100 years or so. So we took this call that we will create that innovation ecosystem, but we did it in a very strategic way. In fact, one of the reasons why people feel that governments have no role in this is because typically governments create lots of regulation, maybe over-regulation, unnecessary regulation. They do lots of micromanagement. And honestly, this is not good for the growth of the ecosystem. So we were very clear that this is not we will do, but we will do other things. For instance, we'll create infrastructure. So we are in T-Works, which itself is a great place, but I don't know whether you noticed, just next door is a huge facility that is called T-Hub. Now you can go. Till a while ago, all the Miss World contestants are there, so possibly you would not have been allowed inside, but I just learned that they have left, so you can actually go before you leave. In fact, some of the Silicon Valley bigwigs, some of your counterparts have come there, and their eyes have popped up. They could not believe that such a thing can exist in India, and that too created by the government. So we have created these kind of institutions, T-Hub, T-Works. There are 8 other knowledge and innovation institutions here in Hyderabad. But there is something beyond creating these brick and mortar facilities. Anyone can build. If any government is willing to spend money, 20 such facilities can be built. But as a government, the maturity that we have shown is who will run these institutions, who will run T-Hub, who will run T-Works. From day one, we have this clarity that while there is talent in the government, far better talent is available outside the government to run these kind of programs. And every person, I told you that there are about 10 such knowledge and innovation institutions that we have built. If you take a count, you will find that there are close to 500 plus people work in these institutions. Maybe there are some 78 people here, about 100 odd in T-Hub, some more in other institutions which are a bit smaller. If you add all of this, the number will clearly exceed 500. Not even one of those 500 is from the government. Everyone has been taken from the open market based on their talent, based on their ability. And we have given them complete autonomy, how do they design their programs, how do they onboard startups, what support do they give, who are their mentors, who is funded, who is not funded. We have no role at all in this. So this is, I believe, something which is very counterintuitive when it began 10 years ago. This was not the narrative, this was a counter-narrative. But I feel very proud today that 14 years later, 12 years later, we have been able to show that this model also works. And not just it works, this actually is the right way. And today, national governments, we have a national planning organization in Delhi which is called the Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog has identified this as one of the best role models if any government has to promote innovation and innovation.
And so clearly a startup mindset that was reflected by Telangana government and officers like you, sir. There's a lot of tinkering obviously going around here. Praveen, if I could bring you in, we are very proud of the fact that Uber's CTO actually originally hails from India, and now that you're spending some more time with the teams here, Praveen, and you spent a good part of your early years in India, as you look at things around yourself right now, visiting T-Works, spending time at the Uber office, in fact, when Uber came to India, our first tech center was set up in Hyderabad. What are your takeaways today as you see the energy, the momentum in India around innovation?
No, but by the way, I'm blown away by seeing these things, and I'm like, when I was growing up, if I had these things, like I probably would not have left. I would have probably stayed, but nonetheless, I'm really excited seeing these developments in my home country. And to what you said, sir, I think what I strongly feel is, regardless of the models, even in Silicon Valley, it's not about the money and so forth, keeping the money things aside. It's the community that you build here, and it's the inspiration that people learn from each other. That's what thrives in Silicon Valley too, and that's probably what you definitely created here, where people who come here and who are working together, seeing other companies and other things, people are trying to be entrepreneur. Those are the things I love, right? And for me personally, growing up in India, what what really matters is I know the talent is here. Because I came from here, I know very deeply what kind of people we are and how adaptive we are, right? Because I was adaptive. I grew up in a lower middle class family, but we were so adaptive to learn what we need to learn and actually build things at that point. Now, when we built, when Uber was a startup, right? And what, not so long ago, 15 years ago, it's not too far, right? And we built a global product, right, that works locally. It's a global product that works locally, and India was one of the first countries Uber launched in. And it was very clear of the impact that we are able to have in India. And one of the things that we thought about tech is, if you're going to build a local product, you probably better have local teams as well, because you need to feel the product like Uber, which is so physical in nature as well, right? And that led to us start coming to Hyderabad because, in my opinion, I have watched Hyderabad grow into what it is right now from my childhood, and I feel we felt like this is right place to start. I think it was 2014 when we started our Hyderabad center, even before Bangalore. This was the center, and it has now grown to more than 1,000 engineers. Right, and the other thing which I would say is for a tech center to flourish, there are multiple functions in tech that needs to come together. Right, tech means it's not just engineers; it is data science, it is product management, it is design, how you design and so forth. These functions have to come together, and it's incredible to see in Hyderabad we are actually able to have all these functions. Right? These are all possible only, and that's why we are successful to have 1,000+ people building products right now.
In fact, we have some startups amongst us here, and we've in fact invited some of them to ask questions. We perhaps get them your way in a short bit. But sir, if I could come to you now and sort of understand from you, as you've worked with various companies, multinational companies, tech companies that approach you and look at you for support in the sense, one, obviously the regulation part that you address, that do not over-regulate, let us figure out the model, and then over a period of time we can find out what works in the interest of each of the stakeholders. But at the same time, what is it about Telangana that you are able to provide to these companies that one after the other, so many multinational companies or even Indian startups have kept coming and have pledged bigger and bigger investments to the state?
See, the answer is like this. There are about half a dozen Indian states which compete with each other for serious investments. So some trickle happens everywhere, but about 5 to 7 states are very competitive, very serious, and on most of the basic parameters, whatever an investor is looking at, the investor is looking at infrastructure, power should be good, water should be available, talent should be there, and they also expect governments to provide incentives, so incentives should be there, and all this kind of basic stuff. More or less, all these states are relatively at the same level. There may be little difference here, maybe quality of power is better in X state, but it is cheaper in Y state, but more or less the states are relatively equally placed. But one of the differentiators that we have been able to create over a period of time, and we have built a very strong reputation about it, is how responsive and accessible the government is. And I really feel very proud about this achievement. Since you have come to Hyderabad, if you meet, let us say, the top 500 center heads of tech companies here, they are close to 1,400 or let us say 1,450 tech companies. Let us say you were to meet the top 500 somewhere, you will find out that each of them have my phone number in their phone book, not only my number. So for example, I see Mr. Manohar Reddy, he's sitting in the front, he's a center head or a founder of one company. If you just ask him to open his phone book, you will find my number there, and even my minister's number will be there in his phone book. But just having number is not enough. One of the internal benchmarks that we have set for ourselves is that no one needs to meet anyone. We are just a text away. And the moment the text comes, it is not that we just acknowledge that I'll see and I'll get back and all that. We should try to solve that issue within 24 hours, not more than that. And the other important thing is, again, an internal benchmark, which I lead from my example is that nothing is off the table. Nothing is off the table. I mean, whatever you require. I'll give you an example. Suppose, let us say, you already are 1,000 plus, you have talent, engineers and all that. Let us say you are from Hyderabad, at some point in time you decide that, okay, let me come back, my parents are here, they are getting older, they'll be happy with the city. You yourself decide to relocate to Hyderabad. Now you'll be leaving San Francisco, you are coming here, your children are used to some schooling, something else is there. And if you come, let us say, in the middle of the school season and tell me that I'm joining here, I have 2 children, can you get them admitted in the international school? Even if the school admissions are over, there are no seats, I guarantee you that I'll get you 2 seats. It's not that I'll make effort, I'll try, I'll write a letter, I'll get it done. I mean, that is what we do. That nothing is off the table. Whatever you require, we are there for you. Because you have reposed trust and faith. You could have gone to Tamil Nadu, you could have gone to Gujarat, but you have chosen to come to Telangana. And this is the least that I can do for you. And when I say nothing is off the table, really nothing is off the table. I'll give you an example. I have a given to kind of, it's not the right example or the best example, but just to prove the point, I'll give this example. So, coincidentally, this example also relates to an American company, but not Uber, I can tell this to you. So this happened a few months ago, actually around the Christmas period, a few days before Christmas. So I was at my home and about 10 in the night, or I think 11 in the night, I get a phone call. So I pick the call. It is from this person who is the center head of it's a semiconductor company, a large American company which has its R&D facility there. So he calls me and he tells me that police have caught me for drunk driving. So I don't drink, I'm a teetotaler, and I don't drive also. I have actually 2 drivers. So this concept of drunk driving is totally alien to me. I have no empathy. I have never, I can't imagine what it means. Of course, I know as a layman that it shows that you are in trouble, something is happening to you, but I don't have any empathy for drunk driving, drunk drivers and all that, but I understood that he is in some trouble. So I told him that you are a respected tech leader, please don't do these kind of things. And he also, sounded very apologetic. So I told him fine. So I disconnected this call. And within the next minute, I called the police commissioner, who is my batchmate, and I told him, please let him off, and he was let off. So, of course, I'm not saying this to mean that you also drink and drive recklessly, and you can call me, I'll help you. But the point I'm trying to make is that nothing is off the table. We are there to help you for every possibility.
Sir, I won't drink and drive, but I'll take your phone number for sure.
Naga, thank you so much for your amazing candor, sir. And I think access to the leadership here, access to the government regulators, that is something that has been incredible and really stands out for companies. Praveen, if I could have you reflect a little bit about, you're visiting India, you're in Bangalore, you're in Hyderabad, and there's a very healthy amount of rivalry that happens between Bangalore and Hyderabad in terms of, how investments pour in from various tech companies, but there's no dearth of talent, be it in Hyderabad or in Bangalore. You were at the Uber campus today, you spent time with the teams in India. I think everybody here, as we were talking to them, were interested in knowing with all that is happening with transformative AI, etc., how's that shaping up the agenda, the tech agenda, the engineering agenda for Uber in India? Just if you could throw some light on that.
No, totally. So one thing I'll say the difference between Bangalore and Hyderabad is airport to coming here. I think even Bangalore folks will accept. This is the best. It's incredible. So what I do, sir, I try to come twice a year at least, try to visit and spend time with my teams, because that's why my way of learning what they're doing and also making sure they get access to me so that we can actually build the right things as well. So talking about AI, if you all know the revolution that's been happening, right? One of the things that bigger companies struggle with is what is the step function change that AI is bringing, right? Everyone talks about AI, what needs to be done, nobody knows. Everyone wants to use it, but is that making an impact in a bigger company, an established company? For a smaller company starting, I think it's the right thing to do because you start from scratch, it's easier, right? The things that for us is, okay, what is that? Then we tried several things, and we were like, okay, let's start with customer support. That makes total sense because in the mobility and delivery world where it's a physical product, defects are the biggest ones, right? When my order doesn't arrive or my drivers have some issue with the fares and so forth, and the agent sitting and actually doing manual work to figure out, it's actually complicated. So AI actually had a tremendous impact for us, not just reducing the cost of the support, but also increasing the quality at the same time. So that's one of the biggest impact we have had. And as an engineer, I'm a personal engineer, I still code, I still work on building some stuff. I think it's the most exciting time to be an engineer, software engineer, right? And what happened is we tried to use Microsoft Copilot for a while. It didn't, I wouldn't say it's that big of a deal, it did not work. Then I went to my engineers and asked them, what is it that you guys want? Instead of me telling top down, you guys tell me, what is it? And they gave me a tool name called Cursor. And I'm like, let me go home and try it out. And the weekend I sat down and I worked on a simple project with Cursor. I was just blown away. Just blown away with what's possible. It's a completely new way of doing it. I'm like, this is it. And I went to the office next week and got Cursor access to all my engineers, right? 2,500 people within a month accessed it. And the productivity has gone and they're very happy. This thing of like, no, AI is going to take my job. I think my CEO says this, like AI is not going to take your job. A person who's using AI will take your job. So you better start using it. And it's also more fun and exciting, right? So those are a few exciting things we have done. And then we have other things we'll talk about maybe about like, to do AI well at a company like Uber, there are a lot of other things that needs to be happening, right? We'll maybe talk about this.
So that also brings me to a question that I think a lot of people are curious to understand a little more after having spent 10 years in your previous role, almost a decade in the IT industry. Now you have a very interesting charge as the CEO of Speed. What is Speed all about? What was the felt need for having a department of Speed set up by government of Telangana?
See, this kind of a need is being felt everywhere or in many parts of the world. And since you have come from the US, you must be surely knowing that when, for example, when President Trump was campaigning for his elections and subsequently after he has become the president, he has been highlighting one point repeatedly, which is that I will dismantle the bureaucracy. And of course, he has got Elon Musk to do that, and for some time, Vivek Ramaswamy was also there. So the intent is something similar in Hyderabad also, in Telangana also. The idea is that there are many ambitious projects which can do a huge amount of good to the state's economy, to people of the state, to vulnerable sections of the society. But the delivery of those projects is suboptimal because they get caught in some governmental procedural layer. We fail to bring the best talent to run those projects. Private sector is not involved. Startups are not involved. International partnerships which can add value to those projects, they are not involved. Everything is done in a very archaic 19th century kind of way. So the whole purpose is this. So I'm not saying that I am the Elon Musk of Telangana, but the kind of intent is the same, that identify about 20 projects and deliver them as quickly as possible. Cut through all the red tape. If you feel that someone is irrelevant in the government system, bypass, bring efficiency, get results, and find innovative ways of thinking. What the private sector or the other, let us say, the startup ecosystem, how they would have approached a similar problem. Bring that mindset of agility, of entrepreneurship. So that is how this operation. So SPEED is an acronym. It relates to a bunch of 20-odd special projects which are of a wide variety. Some of them relate to infra planning, some of them relate to setting up institutions, some of them relate to even preparing net zero goals for Telangana and creating a roadmap to deliver. So a range of projects.
Alright, so in a way, as I hear it, sir, this is in a way like the Department of Government Efficiency that we had in the US that President Trump had set up. It's a version of that you're trying to do here in India. I'm not suggesting it's Mr. Trump's version. It's the Chief Minister's vision perhaps of how to bring in more government efficiency, and I'm sure startups will more than welcome a department of this nature. We've got some questions from the audience. We have some people in the audience who have questions, and I think we've got questions that have been sent, which I could read out perhaps and take from both of you. Should we start first from people in the audience who've got these questions? I think we have a question for Praveen first. We have Mr. Shri.Jayesh from CarryBiz, who's in the audience and has a question. If you could identify yourself. Yes, please.
Hi, Praveen. Right now we are seeing a lot of corporates that, for example, Rapido, it is trying out a new vertical where they are going into the food delivery business. And I have seen Uber, it is trying to get into the package delivery business. And me and my friend here, Rohit, we are also a package delivery business. We are transporting packages. So I just want to know that what challenges and lessons that you have, trying out this new vertical in India.
No, thanks for asking. So first thing, what I'd say is, I'm actually very excited. Well, one of the reasons I came to India is to learn what's happening locally. It's very easy for me to sit in San Francisco in my conference room looking at the graphs and the slides and stuff, like feeling the digital stuff. So my goal here, I have my whole team come here, trying to learn what's happening here, right? Now, one thing, as you said, I'd say Rapido has been doing really well in this, they're innovating, and our job is to sometimes learn from these innovators, right? So that's what we do. And I think the challenges for us is always about changing our business model, right? We kind of have a business model, it's working, it's actually, startups at the end of the day have to make, companies have to make money, right? So we are used to it. Now when a disruptor or an innovator comes into picture, they change the business model, the margins changes and all these things changes, right? So those are the challenges, right? But we at Uber, we are really good at disrupting ourselves and actually learning from, and more importantly, I'd love to learn from you. What are you facing on the ground and what we can do?
We have Ajay Reddy from IAS Labs. Ajay? Yes.
Hi sir, this question is to Jayesh Ranjan sir. So what kind of AI is actually being implemented into the governments of Telangana? So the tech was always an integral part of the government, but it was always one way from the government itself. So is there any AI involving both the citizens of Telangana and also the governments? Is there any AI kind of thing happening in the governments? Or do you have any plans, sir?
No, of course.
Yeah.
So I'll again tell a little bit of a backstory. See, our involvement with AI began way back. In fact, we are the first state in the country which started AI-enabled programs way back in 2019. In fact, the whole year of 2020 was celebrated in Telangana as the year of AI. But if you recall, 2020 was a difficult year. COVID came from March onward. So things got disrupted. But still, I have the satisfaction to mention this, that of all that we had planned for 2020, we were still able to, in some way or the other, achieve about 80% of it. And then, of course, it doesn't mean that what was planned as year of AI, everything stopped on 31st December. We will continue in 2021, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have become much more ambitious. So there are at least 24 use cases in the government using AI. Some very innovative use cases also. In fact, I can give many examples, but let us say one example, if I were to give to you, relates to voting. See, all of us know that in India, practically everywhere in the world, barring one country, which is Estonia, which is an exception. And there also it is not mandatory, it's an option. This is to be able to vote from your home. As all of us will know, if you have to cast your vote, you go to a voting booth, and then you stand and you have to wait for a long time, and if you're elderly or there's something else, and many times there are some complications also. You go there, they are not able to find your booth. Suddenly you are told that you are not in this booth, you are in that booth, and it's a very hassle-troubled experience. But because you are a citizen, it is a duty to somehow endure it, and you finish this voting. But what we have created is, and we actually tested it in a live election scenario, we have created a system We are sitting at home, you can cast your phone using your phone. And as you know, at least in India, of course, in the US also it is becoming more and more contentious. But in India for sure, voting is a very contentious process. People complain that they have been impersonated and this has happened, that has happened. In fact, you will find it surprising. At every polling booth in India, political candidates keep their agents just to ensure that everything is happening under their eye, under their watch, everything is fair. And imagine a scenario where you are alone in your home and anything can be done. You can get 50 people and all of them can vote. You can vote for hundreds of people. All kinds of theoretical malpractices can happen. But we have created a foolproof system in which you can sit at home and every sanctity involved in the election process is maintained using technology, and AI has played a very important role. Basically to identify you. If you are claiming that I am Jayesh Ranjan and you are voting in polling station number X, your name is in serial number Y, are you really you? How does the system know? So we have created a very sophisticated system in which it is confirmed that it is you. So AI has played a very important role. There are many other solutions. Of course, this is more of an academic kind of a thing right now because voting from home has not yet been legalized either in India or elsewhere. But if at all it happens, and we have started showing this solution to all the election bodies. So the state election commissions, they don't run the national elections, but they run state elections. They have shown interest. They want it right now. So gradually when a day comes when this will become the norm, we'll be ready with the solution, the tested solution. But there are many other examples also where we have solved or attempted to solve problems which are more topical, pressing. Large number of people are impacted by that solution. Many of them are agriculture, some of them are in. So again, a very important social phenomenon. I'll give actually two quick examples. I know that we are running out of time, but I will be very brief. So many of you would be aware, this is a big tragedy. It happens across the world. And I personally feel very sad about it. This is about poaching of animals in wildlife parks and all that in Africa. Even in India, there is a rhino sanctuary where the horns of the rhino are the tusks of elephants are removed, tigers are killed and all that. And it's all so sad. It happens all over the place. So we have now created a solution, again an AI-powered solution, which enables the forest officials who are watching that forest to be alerted in real time whenever some poaching attempt is happening. And again, it's a very sophisticated solution. Again, very smart AI algorithm tells them that now some human being is seen in some area. It's not an animal which typically comes in the camera. Another very good AI application that we have launched very recently. Again, this is also a different kind of tragedy. This is also a tragedy which I'm going to speak about, but a very different kind of tragedy. Many of you would know that some very young people get addicted to drugs in their schools, in their teens, and some people may support saying that recreationally people have choice and all, but I still find that there's an age for trying anything. Childhood, when you're still a student, is not the time to take drugs and all that. And I've seen hundreds of lives getting ruined completely. So there is a AI-powered solution which detects early symptoms that a child is moving in that wrong path.
That's very, very impressive use of technology for at a very social level, sir, and obviously government taking the lead there. But Praveen, you also got a sense of some of the interesting population scale technology that India is building. And Uber yesterday announced a very interesting partnership with transit in India, with Delhi Metro. And we're actually hoping to take that live in multiple cities across India. But I want your reflections, Praveen, as you look at some of this population scale technology, the digital public infrastructure that India is building, and how that's providing a template for many companies such as Uber to work on.
So, by the way, so I'm actually very excited to see how government, the public sector, is actually getting involved in this space. So one of the things I told the people at ONDC yesterday, this is truly from heart, as a technologist, nothing about business and keeping those aside. One of the biggest problems me as an engineer I've grown up building is integrating with many companies. It's the hardest job because if you integrate with 1,000 companies, you need to maintain those integrations. Each company is different, the APIs are different. It's a pretty hard job, right? I've done this myself. What the government in India is doing is they're taking this hard job and making a protocol, standardized protocol, to make it seamless for companies to start and integrate. That's incredible. Like for me, it's like mind blowing. No other country has attempted this kind of things that India is attempting. And what I heard from Sir today from the state Telangana is, for me, it's like I'm very proud to actually see how public sector can get involved, right? And as he said, he's always told that government should stay away, right? But I think we are breaking that thing and actually showing what government can actually do and enable these things. So that was my first rule. And what I would say is, now looking at India and because of that kind of things that they're doing, they're actually scaling like the kind of opportunities in terms of, let's say, delivery. That is, this amount of opportunities exist for doing deliveries for small merchants. I guess a small merchant is there and they have to sign a contract with big companies to be able to do deliveries. That's not going to happen. They're not going to be able to sign those contracts. Now with this kind of technology, they just need to plug in and actually live their life, like do the business and live their life, right? So that's what is more exciting. And then now, these small merchant is what I understand from India is the lifeblood of India. And if you enable them and they succeed, the whole country succeeds. Now that is population scale technology, right? So that's what we at Uber want to tap into that as a demand pattern.
Sir, there's a question for you from Kranti Muthu from Moksha AI, if I'm pronouncing it right. What can government do better for smart city management and how can small startups help government in achieving that? And what is the best way for local startups to get visibility and support from Telangana's innovation?
So I'll answer the second part of the question first. See, you have asked what can small startups do to get visibility. So scale is not important, whether you are small or big. What is more important is, are you working on something which is of relevance to the government? If you're in B2B or B2C space, also we can help you, not that we won't help you. But if you have a solution or a product which is directly relevant to society, to people, to citizens, to government, in our startup policy, we have a clause that if you are a startup incubating in Hyderabad or Telangana, and if you have a product or solution which is of relevance for the government, we guarantee to you that we will be your first customer. So many startups tell us, and I'm sure it is even more relevant for a small startup or a mid-scale startup, that they may have a great idea, they may have a great solution, but acquiring the first customer is always a very tough task. And I've seen, sadly, many startups who actually completely, they die actually, frankly speaking, for want of any better word, just because they could not get their first customer. So in Telangana, we give this as an assurance that if your solution is of relevance, size is not material, scale is not material. Only two things are material. One, you should be a homegrown startup. So if you're not from Hyderabad, if you change your location, if you move your development team to Hyderabad, you get a homegrown status. And then of course the solution should be of relevance to the government. So that is one thing. Now coming to the smart city opportunity, I'm again very happy to share with you. And this is one of the speed projects incidentally. The government is setting up a greenfield satellite township. Those who live in Hyderabad would have heard of it many times. It is called Bharat Future City. It is a 30,000 acre township, so it's not small in any sense. It's pretty large, 30,000 acres. And it's totally greenfield. So land is with the government. Now we are doing the master plan, and we want this to be a world-class satellite township, a role model wherever cities are facing challenges of urbanization. And in India, we all know cities are growing like anything. Rural to urban migration is happening at a breathtaking pace. Cities are also contributing a lot to the economy, to the GDP. So the governments also want cities to grow. But unfortunately, in all these years, the growth has been pretty haphazard and unplanned. There are neighborhoods where there is no water, there is no sanitation, there are no street lights, everything is in a disorganized kind of a manner. So we want to show for the first time that at least in developing countries, possibly in advanced countries also, this is the way to promote urbanization. Create satellite townships, not very far from the main city, provide good connectivity so that those who want to live there and work, they can do that. But people can also commute, but create a holistic lifestyle here. There should be shopping, there should be education, there should be sports, there should be health, there should be recreation, different economic drivers. So that is what we are doing. One fundamental principle is that it will be a complete smart city. Everything will be based on futuristic, modern kind of concepts. And I'll be very happy if the person who has asked this question, if he has any solution which is of relevance for setting up a satellite township from bottoms up, completely greenfield, we'll be happy to onboard them.
I hope that answers your question. As I wrap this conversation, I'm aware of the fact that some of you may want to quickly engage, take photographs at the end of this session. Praveen, just your reflections as Uber tries to tap into the energy and the momentum that Telangana has, that India has, the momentum the sun that India has, and also why you think Hyderabad will continue to be that hotbed of innovation for Uber.
So, first of all, for me, in India, what we say is, if I build a product for India, I'm sure that will scale globally, right? And we have proved that for ourselves in the first place. We have solved certain problems which are some reliability problems where drivers are calling and cancelling, like how do we build a technology to make that happen? And I can give you a bunch of examples like Uber Bus that we run in different cities. These things, when we are able to take it and scale it in different other countries, and in India is where we want to test it. Now, to do that, what we always felt is, actually let's have our own engineers in India build these things, right? Why should it be happening outside? Like that's kind of like comes from heart, they actually feel it, right? And keeping that base and we have Hyderabad and Bangalore as two sites where we'll continue to invest. And investing doesn't mean that just hire and just do it. Like people like me and my leadership actually constantly visiting and making it work. That's important, right? Otherwise, I have seen the failure patterns as well in other companies, okay? What they do is they start a company and then they'll come and say, India is bad, the site is bad. Like, no, what effort have you done to make it work as such? I think the uniqueness for us is at Uber, like we have products locally also. That makes it much more important for us.
All right, on that optimistic note, we'll wrap it right here. This one. Organize some coffee, snacks, please do grab that before you leave. And thank you again for joining us.
చేద్దాం